A caregiver told me something last week that stuck with me. She said, the doctor mentioned a research study, and I nodded like I understood what that meant. Then she looked at me and said, I didn't understand it at all. Greetings and welcome. This is GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers, the not-so-sexy podcast, episode 94. Well, here we are again. I'm your host, Jeff Edwards. How's everybody doing? Good, I hope. I had an epic week. Hand surgery and root canal on consecutive days. Couldn't type, couldn't talk much. Couldn't even open my own water bottle. Sheesh. When it rains, it pours. But we have pushed through those obstacles, and here we are. And honestly, that's something caregivers know a lot about, pushing through. Because when you're dealing with Alzheimer's, the challenges don't come one at a time. They stack up. If you're caring for someone with Alzheimer's, sooner or later someone says the words, have you considered a research study? And suddenly you're stuck wondering, is this hope? Is this pressure? Is this even safe? Most families never get clear answers. So today, we're gut-checking the truth about Alzheimer's research studies, what they involve, what they don't, and how to decide if it's right for your loved one. We'll be discussing this with Dr. John Huffaker from NPRC. Are you ready? Here we go. We're proud to be supported by Neuropsychiatric Research Center, a clinical trial center dedicated to advancing research and treatment for memory loss and Alzheimer's disease. And the fine people at Heart, Body, and Mind Home Care, nationally acclaimed, award-winning home care. And Live Younger Today. Activate your stem cells for health and vitality. You can check them out online at liveyoungertoday.com. Our 5 tenets or rules, they're simple but very important. Number 1, you must take care of yourself because if something happens to you, who is going to take care of your loved one? Number 2, you can't do this alone. You need help. Find a good caregiver group. Number 3, make a list of people, friends, relatives, or co-workers who have offered to help, then actually use it. Number 4, create a help signal. Identify a cue or phrase to confirm your loved one is comfortable with receiving help from someone else. And number 5, love it or hate it. It will be your life until it's not. So give it your all. When we come back, what's new in Alzheimer's with Dr. John Huffaker.
We'll be right back to GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
If you find that it's time that you must start looking for a good home care company for your loved one, I'd like you to consider talking with Heart, Body, and Mind Home Care, a nationally award-winning company. They are top of the line in service. They will tell you service is their passion, excellence is their promise, and that's the honest truth. They are very knowledgeable and skilled at what they provide. On top of that, they are just really nice people who love helping others in need. They are Alzheimer's and dementia and Parkinson's care specialists. You can find them on the web at hbmhomecare.com or you can call them at area code 239-603-6455. And you'll find a link for them on our website, gutpunch.com. Heart, Body, and Mind Home Care, your best choice for home care.
This is GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers. What's new in Alzheimer's with John Huffaker.
Okay, John, we have from Cheryl W. in Chicago, Illinois. I work in a very stressful industry, and sometimes I think I'm losing my mind because I can't remember simple words and sometimes even simple tasks. Do I have dementia?
Great question, Cheryl. And probably the short answer is No, you probably don't have dementia. Stress, we've all been there. We've all had moments in our lives that we're going through stress, and it definitely can cause and make us feel like, boy, what's happening? My mind's not like it was. What's going on? So what happens is stress causes a release of high levels of cortisol, and cortisol can actually trigger or cause memory loss. So typically when somebody's having some high levels of stress, they'll describe feeling this brain fog. And we've probably all heard somebody say that. And they're like, boy, I just not finding the words that I need, or, things that I normally were easy to do. All of a sudden, I can't remember the PIN code to my ATM card. Put it in every day at the store. And all of a sudden, today I couldn't remember it. That can happen. And quite honestly, that typically is temporary associated to that stress trigger, but it can also be long lasting, but it's really not necessarily dementia. You can have more than one thing happen at a time, but most likely it's not just stress, that's situational, and hopefully at some point, I know you work in a stressful industry, hopefully that lessens up to some point.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Up next, our conversation with Dr. John Huffaker from Neuropsychiatric Research Center about research studies.
We'll be right back to GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
Every day, I talk with people who say, I don't feel as sharp as I used to. My energy is low. My memory worries me. Hi, I'm Peggy Sealfon, board-certified health coach and caregiver. I share patented science-backed technology supporting your body's natural repair, helping improve sleep, cognition, and vitality. Learn more at liveyoungertoday.com. liveyoungertoday.com.
This is GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
I'm on the phone with John Huffaker from NPRC. When we hear the words clinical research or research study, it can sound scary, complicated, maybe even risky. But a lot of families affected by Alzheimer's are asking, should we consider it? What does it involve? And how would it impact our everyday lives? So today, I really want to slow this down and unpack it. No medical jargon, no pressure, just real talk about what actually happens when somebody joins a study. Welcome, John. How you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
I enjoy talking with you, and you bring so much information to us. It's very much appreciated. So I have a bunch of questions for someone listening who's never even thought about joining a research study. What does that actually look like, and where does it even begin?
We get that all the time because when somebody, just like you mentioned earlier, when somebody hears the name clinical research or a clinical study, it can sound overwhelming. Really, I tell everybody the main thing, what you want to do, and you should do this for any medical condition or most anything in life, is you want to get informed or as educated as you can so you can make your best decision. And kind of where that begins is somebody, whether it was through a recommendation of maybe their medical provider, maybe they find us online, maybe they're listening to this podcast, whatever it is. Typically, they'd reach out to us, and we kind of do a little bit of a series of questions over the phone just to get a little bit of an idea. And we try to give them a little bit more information about what we do. And then from there, we would go to the next step, which gets a little bit more involved, but we kind of give a little bit more information every time we meet with the person concerned in clinical research. But why I think it's important to even look at clinical research is I already expressed the importance of getting that education, right? Educate yourself. But the other thing is you have to remember, we've all benefited from a medication, or we've had a family member benefited from a medication, or maybe even a surgical procedure. Every one of those items had to go through clinical research. It went through the same thing that we do. It's part of what we need for advancements in medicine, and it doesn't have to be when you learn a little bit more about it and see how structured it is. I think people are much more comfortable with the concept of research, and they leave here after meeting with us with a very different opinion.
Now, when you say research study, that can sound intimidating. What would a normal day in a study really look like for someone?
If you're really focusing on what we do primarily, which are Alzheimer's studies. So it's very similar to if you went to a normal doctor visit. Not much different than a regular office visit. When somebody comes and see us on the normal part of once they're in a clinical trial, usually when they first get here, we take their vitals just like you do when you go to your regular doctor's office. We have an exam room. We'll typically do a physical exam. At some visits with us, but not every visit, we also do do a series of cognitive testing or a series of tests, and we think about what we're doing. We're trying to see if these medications can help with an individual's cognitive function or memory. So we have to periodically do a series of tests to see how somebody's memory is performing. Has it improved? Has it stayed the same? Has it gotten worse? We have to test for that. So there is a part where the patient will spend some time with one of our, we call them raters or our psychologists that administer some of those cognitive tests. And we do that over a series of time of the course of the study to try to see, making this part up from the beginning of the study, and then 2 years later, has there been a change? And we track that over time. We don't do that at every visit, but we do that periodically. But other than that, it's pretty much like a regular medical doctor visit.
How do you know if you even qualify, and what happens before you're officially accepted? Patients have to wait, or they know right then and there? Or
it's a little bit of both, and I'll tell you why. So at the very beginning, kind of what I mentioned when we first started talking, they come to us, you start gathering some information. I kind of describe it, it's like dating. And on that first date, it's where we kind of get to know each other both ways. You know, we learn a little bit more about a person's medical history, the background, why are they even coming to see us? And then we also talk to them about what we are, what we're doing, some of the different research projects that we have going on. From that point, it's like dating. If it's matched and we decide to do a second date together, we will match that person up to a particular study, and then we'll start that process of qualifying them for that study if we think it's a good match. Depending on the study, sometimes to be able to know you qualify for a study could have different parameters, and it's all pre-agreed on with the FDA. But I'm going to use this as an example. Is let's say we have to verify that there is an abundance of the amyloid protein, which is associated with the hallmark way of identifying an Alzheimer's patient. So we might have to do an amyloid PET scan or something to confirm, is that protein there? That could be a qualifying component. That is something we can't know right away. We have to schedule, get that test done, get the results, and then we would discuss it. And let's say we did do that, and then they were a good candidate for research. We would come back again. We would talk even more about the clinical trial, and at one point then we would start the medication or therapy, whatever the study was involving. So it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a little bit of time. I usually tell a patient from beginning to the first time you take a medication, it might take us somewhere between 30 to 60 days. Not that they're coming to see us every time in that period of time, but it takes a little bit of time to get everything in line.
Gotcha. Now, let's talk about real life. If I join a study, what happens with my regular doctor? Are they still in the loop? What do I do?
That's up to the individual. You don't change. We tell everybody come in, you're in a clinical trial. You still keep your same doctors, keep taking your current medicine. You do everything you normally do. You keep us in the loop. You tell us if you're starting a new medication, they want to, I don't know, you're going to get a knee surgery. You keep us in the loop so we know what's going on, but you still keep doing that. It is up to an individual. If you want your regular doctor to know you're in a study or not, that is person's individual decision, and we will do whichever they want. I personally usually tell them, I think you should let your doctor know. I think it's good for them to be involved and in the loop so they know what you're doing, but that's up to the individual. And then you just go about your normal thing. Tell everybody, you still just live your life like you normally would. You just got to keep us up to date on what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, here's the big caregiver question. What if something unexpected happens? Now, if I end up in the hospital or need surgery, does that mean I'm out of the study?
Most times, no. Like I said, we realize you still live your life, and not even always the good things. Somebody can slip and fall and break their hip, and you get that taken care of. We, again, just say, let us know what's going on. Typically, the person in the study or maybe their family member would call and tell us that they're in the hospital. That doesn't kick them out of the study. We just kind of watch that from a distance to make sure everything goes okay, and if we can help. Oftentimes, what we would do, too, is we would stop the medication while they're at the hospital just to keep things simple. We want them to focus on getting better, and then we pick up the ball back when everything is done. I would tell everybody, focus on you, get better, and then we'll readdress this.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, if someone's condition changes or progresses, how does that affect their participation? Or does that happen?
Yeah, and it does happen. I mean, it absolutely has happened. And on a research or study side, It doesn't eliminate somebody from a clinical trial. They can stay in as long as they want. Now, this is where we have the human conversation, and we always want to do what's best for that person. And honestly, if we decide as with the patient and maybe their family that it doesn't make sense to stay in the study, they need to focus on the other parts of the progression of the disease, or maybe there's something else medically has happened. We've had people that'll stop a study, but it isn't necessarily, the study doesn't tell them they can't stay in it. I always tell everybody we're still human here too as well, and we want to do the right thing. And sometimes that means not staying and finishing out the clinical trial.
Now, say I'm in a clinical trial. Can I change my mind if I start feeling uncomfortable? Can I step away? How does that work?
Yep, 100% they can. We tell everybody at the very first time we meet, I always tell them, I said, this is truly voluntary and you're in control, and you will probably get tired of us asking you if you want to stay into the study. Not that something so bad happens or it's such a bad experience that people don't want to stay in the study, but it is completely voluntary. I mean, they can change their mind in a day, week, month, year, whatever it is. It's completely up to them. I kind of sometimes make the joke, I said, this is unlike the military that says it's voluntary, but then once you join, they never ask your opinion again. We'll ask you all the time because things can happen. I'll give an example. I had somebody probably about 6 months ago. They've been in a study with us for 3 years, and they decided to stop. They're like, we're going to stop the study. Now, their reason was they decided we're not getting younger and we want to travel the world. So they dropped out of the clinical trial, and now they're traveling the world. They're perfectly entitled to do that. Nobody gets mad. There's no penalty. There's no punishment.
I like your military analogy there. For caregivers listening, what kind of time commitment are we really talking about? Is this something that's manageable?
Yeah, I think it is. I tell everybody across the board on average, can vary a little bit. So everybody, it's typically you're going to give us about a half a day once a month. That's pretty much what it takes. Some are less, some are more. But you'll come see us about half a day once a month. Again, when somebody does that, if they're even here longer, we try to do other little things to make it convenient. If somebody doesn't want to drive, we'll provide Uber or Lyft. We'll provide the transportation. I've mentioned it before. They get a small stipend, both the person in the study and so does their study partner or their caregiver. They get something as well. It can't legally be enough to entice them to do it, but they do get compensated for their time. If they're here, if it happens to be a longer visit for the day, we'll get them lunch. We try to make it as reasonable and comfortable as possible, but it also is, I think, manageable. It is a commitment. It's a commitment on both sides. We're committed, they're committed, but I think it's very manageable. Like I said, I always give everyone the rough one, half a day a month.
Well, that's not bad at all. Now, what would you say to someone who wants to help advance research but is just plain nervous about it?
I would say that's a very normal reaction. First of all, I think that happens all the time. I usually tell everybody, if you come and see us, see what it's about. Most people, by the time they leave with us, will even tell us, boy, I was really nervous about coming in here. I'm so glad I did, because one thing we focus on is education. We're going to make sure and provide some good, valuable information. We also show there are no cages with lab rats here. It looks very much like a regular medical office, but we're also very down to earth. I would say down to earth as we can be, but still be professional. And I think why it's important too is on the research is we don't advance without doing research. But at the same token, we're very cautious. If anything in research, we're more conservative than your regular medical care. And there's a lot of times that for somebody, when we talked earlier about qualifying for a study, there's reasons somebody might not qualify for a study, but in the regular medical world, it really doesn't matter. But we have to be more cautious, more selective. And it's the right thing to do because we don't want to put anyone at any undue risk. So I think it's a very common, normal feeling to be a little apprehensive about clinical research, but I think it's worth hearing it out, learning about it. I mean, the reason why you think in our practice, probably 95% of our patients are referred from the medical providers in the community because they, I think, understand and see the value that we provide. And overall, I tell everybody, I know at the end of the day, we're doing a lot of good. And I think a lot of people like to be a part of that and feel better knowing that they are.
They're doing something about it.
100%. Tell everyone at a time, you got to be proactive. You've got to do something, whatever that is. If it's with us, great. If it's us getting you somewhere else, great. We'll do that too. But we try to help. If it makes more sense for us to get them or recommend they go somewhere else, we'll help arrange that. If it makes more sense that we're focused on something, we'll do that too.
Right. Doing nothing is not a plan, right?
That's right.
Right. Well,
That's right.
Research isn't for everyone, but information is power. And if you're walking this Alzheimer's journey, knowing your options, including research gives you one more piece of control in a situation that often feels out of control. Well, John, I appreciate your time and the great information. You're with Neuropsychiatric Research Center. I always call it NPRC because I get tongue-tied sometimes. But I do appreciate your time, and you have a good rest of your day.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure.
We're coming back with a look ahead and resources.
We'll be right back to Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
Your brain is who you are, your memories, your personality, your life. At the Neuropsychiatric Research Center, they're committed to helping you protect it. If you're 50 or older, you're invited to our free memory screening event where you can learn about a breakthrough in early Alzheimer's detection, the p-tau217 blood test. This cutting-edge test may detect Alzheimer's-related changes earlier than ever before and is offered only to eligible participants based on screening results and family history. Why call? Because a quick confidential memory check can give you peace of mind, help you establish a cognitive baseline, and connect you with research opportunities that could change lives, including your own. Call Neuropsychiatric Research Center, located in Fort Myers, at 239-939-7777 to schedule your free memory screening today and see if you qualify for the p-tau217 blood test. That number again, 239-939-7777. Your brain matters. Let's protect it together. The p-tau217 blood test is available only to participants who meet eligibility criteria determined during screening.
This is Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
A little help, please. You know, we here at Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers, are now into our third year, getting close to 100 episodes. And it really wasn't until midway into our second year that we put together a nice website for our listeners. Thanks, Helicopter Marketing. It's easy to find, gutpunched.com. That's it. I would like to ask a favor of you. If you haven't been there yet, would you please check it out? And if you've been there before, would you give it another look? See if there are things that you would like to see on the website. Things that may help you or other caregivers that we don't currently have. You can go to our contact page and type in your suggestions. We would really appreciate that you help us continue to bring the best we can. And the same goes for the podcast itself. Let's build this together. Thank you very much. Our resources are very important. If you're not sure where to turn or how to connect, we'll be here to help bring you trusted resources. You can reach out to the Dubin Center at dubincenter.com. Then there is Neuropsychiatric Research Center. Find them at nprc-southwestflorida.com. Heart, Body, and Mind Home Care at hbmhomecare.com. You can check out the Alzheimer's Support Network at alzsupport.org. And to find your local chapter of the Alzheimer's Association, you can visit their website or call their toll-free hotline at 1-800-272-3900. Now, they also offer an outstanding resource called Dementia Care Navigation, powered by Ripple and the Alzheimer's Association. It provides free, personalized dementia care, including a dedicated care navigator and tailored resources for caregivers and people living with dementia. You can get connected by calling 855-271-2662. That's 855-271-2662. You take the first step. We also mention the guide program frequently. It's another excellent resource that provides help and respite care, and it's free. You can search for it online or visit Dr. Perry's HealthSpan Partners at https://healthspansouthwestflorida.com. Another resource worth checking out is Aquilane Clinical Research at aquilaneresearch.com and Alzheimer's Support Network at https://support.network. Our website is gutpunched.com and the email address is gutpunchedac@outlook.com or jeff@gutpunched.com. And thank you to each and every one of you who has taken time out of your busy, stressful day as a caregiver to listen. We truly appreciate it. You are helping to grow our podcast and its impact for caregivers. Thanks for joining us. If today gave you even a little hope, hold on to it. God bless.
This has been Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers, with your host, Jeff Edwards. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to us on all the platforms, like Spotify, Apple, Pandora, Podbean, and more. If you have a question or want to get in touch with us, our email is gutpunchedac@outlook.com or jeff@gutpunched.com. Caregivers, you don't have to do this alone.